Too tough to tame, but not too tough to handicap. NASCAR heads to Darlington. We get you set for a weekend full of racing with our best bets across all three series, plus our DFS rankings for Sunday. Buckle up, subscribe if you're new. It's the Backroad coming right at you.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. The checkered flag. That's all this race is.
What's going on, everyone? Happy Thursday night to everyone watching out there. This is the Backroad. It's in between media's fantasy NASCAR and NASCAR betting show. And we got the dynamic duo here for you tonight, Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock. We're going to react to the races at Kansas, break down Darlington, and as Seth mentioned, we're going to give you our best bets in our DFS rankings and another little giveaway to end the show, too. Going to be a real fun one as we turn our attention to the lady in black, Seth.
Yes, sir. I am ready. Throwback Weekend, motherfuckers, is here. One of the coolest weekends of racing of the year. Girlfriend's heading out of town this weekend, Elliot. So it's just going to be me, a couple bush lattes, maybe a couple icy mangoes mixed in there as well, and some racing, 3 days of it. I cannot wait to cash tickets all weekend long, hopefully.
Yeah, here's hoping. We were talking a bit before the show. We don't quite know if the value is there, but hey, you know we're going to give it our best shot here on the Backroad.
We're going to keep firing, man. We're going to keep firing. Heartbreaker for the kid last weekend. We'll talk more about that. But Darlington's a get-right track, man. It's always fun. It's always some great racing you see here. The crowd's electric, and I think the drivers will be ready to go as well.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. But let's go ahead and take a look back at Kansas in the review. So I know we had the trucks too, and normally we mention what happened in the lower series, but we have to start with the Cup Series and the closest finish in series history, where Kyle Larson beats out Chris Buescher by literally not even this much. It was closer than that. We had all the storylines this week about the cameras and the finish line, and Ford with another heartbreaker. But goddamn, was that a good race all around? Even with the great finish, that was just some spectacular racing. Kansas is one of the best in the Cup Series right now.
I think it's arguably the best track right now on the circuit. It gives you everything, man. And not only did we get a great finish there, Elliot, like an all-time great finish, we also got like an action-packed race with a lot of strategy in mind. We saw Denny Hamlin go from leading the race to go into the back of the field to short pitting everyone, getting out in front due to some cautions in that third stage there. And man, it was an electric race all around, and just really happy that Kansas puts on such a great product. And NASCAR is making some headwaves, man. Like, this is great for us gamblers, great for us fans. Like it got some time on ESPN this week because of it. So all things in the upward direction as far as a racing standpoint here at Kansas.
Yeah, it's really crazy. You know, in the previous gen car, we were wanting to throw away as many mile and a halves as we could, bring back the short tracks, bring back everything else. Now even Daytona and Talladega kind of put out stinkers. The short tracks suck, and we want all the cookie cutter mile and a halves with the next gen. Like, I'm hyped for Charlotte in a couple weeks. I'm hyped for Darlington because with this car, it's going to put on such a great show. And even though the race got kind of messy in stage 3, we did kind of have justice because Denny Hamlin and Chris Buescher were two of the 4 best cars or so. Hamlin had some pit road issues. Buescher with that pit penalty when he was arguably the dominant car at that stage in the race. It was just to see them kind of move back up in the field, even though it would have been kind of nice to have the strategy go a different way in some sense, especially for our betting cards, because of course we also had the dreaded late race caution and ended up having I forget if it was a traditional green white checkered or if it went to overtime, but we had that late restart that also jumbled things even more.
Oh, Elliot, it was such a great weekend. We had the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. I was up at a party for that. Vibes were high. Had a great truck race on Saturday night. Like, my greatest ever betting night of truck. So I was really happy. We were high. We had a lot of units to spare going into Sunday. And from a betting standpoint, I got to see Brad Keselowski, who I had a top 10 on that we talked about here on the Backroad last week. He went from 30th all the way into the top 10. Had arguably one of the best cars at the very end of it, was making a run for it. I had both the Hamlin and the Truex outrights. So I was feeling good either way, whatever kind of was shaking out there. As long as it was a Toyota, as long as it was one of those guys, I was going to be happy about it. And just doesn't hit. Like, I did have Larson top Chevy, so that was nice. But yeah, got beat by Kyle Larson, man. And that was a tough one. And even to see Keselowski slide all the way back on that final restart, he started like 20th something. And get all the way up to 11th. So bad beat of the year for me. But I'm sure you had a couple of those too last weekend, though.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about bad beats. I mean, I didn't have any money on the Buescher outright, but for people who did, at gigantic odds to not only see him come that close, but to at first see Buescher on top of the pylon.
Oh, yes.
And then I only had the Ford to win. Ford to win was at plus 700. I put some money on that, and I was hyped about that, let alone the Buescher odds. But then they come around the track, they show the up close, and I'm like, God damn it, Larson got him. But that's really wild. That normally with these really close finishes, you never have it flip like that.
Yeah.
Where it says Buescher, and it's like, oh fuck, it's actually Larson. So that was, you want to talk about a bad beat. That's a hell of a bad beat.
Oh.
You already have guys. I think our friend Mark Skybox NASCAR had money on the Buescher outright. I remember seeing his tweet said something along the lines of, "Well, thanks NASCAR for taking away like a free month's rent or whatever he had bet on it." But yeah, man, you want to talk about some bet? You want to talk about bad bets too? We'll transition into the truck race here, at least for the moment. Corey Heim holding off Zane Smith. We were texting a little bit because one of the bets I had called out on the show was Zane Smith for a top 3. But sometimes not everything I put on this sheet goes on the betting card. I thought I had money on the Zane top 3, wasn't to be.
Yeah, that's the worst, man. You got to cross your fucking T's, dot your I's here. Like, I make damn sure that everything I spew out of my fucking mouth, I have money on, or I'm gonna be pissed when it doesn't hit. So, lessons learned all around, I think. Still some great racing, and came out positive for myself from a betting standpoint last weekend, but could have been an absolute huge day. Hashtag stay green. We need these fucking races to stay green. I don't often kind of get on the other side of those, but we'll see. And RFK, keep firing shots at RFK, man. They were 50-1, 40-1 in a lot of places. I was on Brad last week. Like, me, Ellie. I can never get the RFK guys right. Like, I'll pick one of them and the other one will pop off. But looks like Lana's in the chat saying, OMG, Kyle Larson. That was fucking awesome, especially since I picked him. Great to see you guys. Good job, Lana. There you go. I think we should have drank that juice a little bit more there, Elliot. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of weeks have been some juicier cards, and we do have some. We got some juicier bets for Darlington too. That just because the books are a hell of a lot tougher with these 1.5 miles, even though they put on some good racing.
Yeah, they're getting smarter, man. As NASCAR comes more into the fray, especially the gambling side of it down in North Carolina, like the odds have just really been getting cut in half over the last year. Like, I remember coming to Darlington, we were betting, like, I was looking back at my show sheet from last year, like Denny was like 8-1, 9-1. You know what I mean? Like,
oh God. I wish I had that number on Hamlin or some of those guys. My God.
Yeah. Before we do move on, though, Ellie, we did have some news that we talked about on the website this week. You put out a blog about it. If you want to touch a little more on our first silly season domino that fell this week.
Yep. I mean, you couldn't put it any more succinctly there. McNasty's on the move. He's going to leave the Front Row Motorsports number 34 and will slide into the Spire Motorsports number 71. Spire going to keep that third team. Zane Smith, he'll go somewhere else. McNasty going to drive for Spire. There, it was kind of surprising. There had been rumors coming out that maybe he would leave, that he had talked to some other teams last year.
Yeah.
But he was one of the, the longer tenured guys in the series. He'd been there 7 seasons, and now will take his talents over to Spire.
It seems like it's just a stability thing. We always know Front Row never really signs those long-term deals. They're kind of just slinging out 1-year contracts year after year. And so, like, you can't blame him. Spire obviously has some funding that they're getting as well, so they can pay someone like Michael McDowell. And it speaks to them, man. And, like, I'm not really sure how good that Spire equipment is. Like, Carson Hocevar has kind of drove the wheels off it. Like, and if it is that good, then that's great. And I think Michael McDowell could be a factor next year. But like then there's Corey LaJoie, who's underperformed all year, and Zane Smith, who's been arguably the worst full-time guy, but you just don't know if that's the driver of the car. But McDowell's probably always outran his equipment, you know?
Yeah, and bringing a guy like McDowell in, you know, I can't compare their two driving careers, but it's almost like how Kurt Busch, where every team he went to in his latter career, he made that equipment better. Getting a veteran driver in there, obviously McDowell, not a Cup champion, not nearly as many wins, but he knows how to drive a race car. I mean, we've seen it over the last couple of years. Really brought Front Row up. I mean, they'd won at Talladega with David Reagan. They put together some good runs, all right, but he really, you know, he brought that team into a better era to being one of the top Ford teams. And that's what Spire is going to be hoping for, is that he can kind of pick out some of those things. Because LaJoie's a veteran, but he hasn't been around quite as long. He doesn't have the same racecraft. And just frankly, maybe not even as much talent as McDowell has, at least developed through now. So getting a guy like that in, you've got your traditional veteran, you've got your performing veteran, and you've got your hot-performing young stud in Carson Hocevar. So Spire could be a team that continues on the upspring. And listen, I'm proud of these guys. If you go back to some of these shows 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was like, these guys suck. They're just collecting money. The cars are shit. But they had to build up some of that money to go out there, get charters, get more charters, get guys like McDowell in the door. Now it's, you know, they just keep making moves that help me take them very seriously as a race team. And that's fun, because the more serious and good teams we have in the garage, the better the racing is going to be.
You're getting a guy like Michael McDowell, who legitimately has a shot to win in all the road courses, the super speedways. He's like arguably an A- super speedway racer. You know, likes to throw some blocks at the end of races, but you got to do that at times. And arguably like an A- to A road course racer as well. And he can still kind of get it done in the mile and a half. So we saw it last week at Kansas. He had a top 10. And when we were at Dover and we talked to him a couple weeks ago, like he had a really good qualifying run there. He's getting the most out of his equipment. So I think he'll do the same. And yeah, shout out Spire for actually, like, you know, putting together a good organization here. And so I'm excited all the way around. And I think the only other question mark I'd like to ask you is, like, where does this leave Front Row? What does Front Row do next, in your opinion?
Yeah, so that's the crazy part. You know, McDowell jumping off of that ship for the stability, getting the multi-year deal. He's locked himself in. What is not locked in is what's going to happen to Front Row and what could happen to the Ford program as a whole, because the rumors are rampant now about Stewart-Haas Racing. You know, there have been thoughts maybe they would downsize. Now it's been brought up that maybe their entire operation is on the market. They may, you know, if they get a track house buying out Ganassi type of offer, you may not see Stewart-Haas in the same form. Maybe Stewart-Haas and Front Row would merge or something. If we were a show that didn't have to focus on betting and we could do a whole bunch of silly season talk, we could throw on the tinfoil hats and certainly talk about it all night. But really, we don't know what's going to happen there. That's the crazy part. McDowell did not want to wait around. He gets the Spire offer. He's like, I'm going to lock myself in here. He's earned it. He drove the shitty start and park cars, brought himself up, wins the Daytona 500, gets that second win to really solidify you as not being a fluke in the Cup Series. Now he's in a stable spot for potentially the rest of his career.
I fucking love McNasty. Shout out McNasty. I'll definitely be repping some 71 gear once he gets over there. All right, man. Yeah. Shout out Michael McDowell. Shout out Spire. What do you say, though? Should we jump into it and preview Darlington a little bit more?
Yeah, let's look at the horizon forecast as we head to South Carolina.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So Darlington is a unique racetrack. It's not quite a mile and a half, 1.366 miles, kind of almost like egg shapes. Two of the turns are a bit wider than the other two because there was a lake in the way or something like that. I don't have the story in front of me right now.
Yeah.
So it can get grouped into the mile and a half, but it sure as hell isn't a cookie cutter mile and a half.
No, absolutely. Super low grip here. That's the one thing you need to know. It's also going to chew up some fucking tires. So, like, really good product on the track. And it's definitely one of those skill ones as well, Elliot, where you got to pay attention to, yes, how do they do on the high tire wear intermediate tracks, but how do they do at Darlington? It's kind of its own beast a little bit. Very, very unique. No true comps here, but they do go here twice a year. And I think the one benefit from having a May and September race is, like, there's not a ton difference in weather wise, you know, for that area, as far as like what could be like, you know, a March race and a November race or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and the only difference is too, it won't be the case this year, but it will be the case with the data that we have is that Darlington 2 being a playoff race, you start to get into that territory where some guys are going to race a little differently because it's the playoffs. This year, that won't be the case. Darlington's the regular season finale, which arguably may also throw some wrenches into the data. So something to take into account, but you're right. Weather-wise, in terms of track conditions and things like that, generally going to be similar.
Yes, and we do have some secondary comps we can look at, folks. Dover, Homestead, Auto Club. Those are going to be the main ones that you can factor in. Auto Club's more just for the high. Yeah, Auto Club's more like the high tire wear. Homestead and Dover are like similar skill tracks. Also with some tire wear in there as well. Looking at the schedule here, Elliot, Friday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time truck race, the Buckle Up South Carolina 200. And then Saturday, Cup practice and qualifying. Wake up with it. Get a little beer in your Cheerios. Get a little wake and bake rolling. 10:35 Eastern time. And then 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Xfinity race, baby. Crown Royal Purple Bag Project 200. I don't know about you, Elliot, but I love me some Crown Royal purple bags. Like those things can just be used. They're diverse. There's some diverse. I think you have a couple lying around, if I remember.
Yeah, so I've got a couple. I got a couple green ones and a couple like sand color ones from the apple and the vanilla flavors, but also some good purple laying around. And we, Crown Royal used to sponsor the spring race at Richmond, so we would have some fireworks in some of those Crown Royal races. Kyle Busch spinning out Dale Jr. Crown Royal presents the whichever soldier they named it after that year, 400.
There you go. Yeah, I don't mind Crown Royal, man. Like I don't rip it like on the Reggie. I feel like you do, but
it's a solid pair. I love a good whiskey. If I just want to take a nice little, little glass or a little shot, I can mix it around with some zero sugar Coke. Have a nice little bev with something.
Yeah,
it's versatile. It's like a Busch Light. It can pair with just about anything.
Yeah, no, hey, yeah, good call out there, honestly. And then Sunday, folks, 3 p.m. Eastern time, Cup race, Goodyear 400. Stage breaks are going to be after lap 90, after lap 185, and then 293 will take us home. Let's look at a couple of the trends to note here. Just something to keep in mind for Xfinity, folks. Eric Almirola owns the track qualifying record set in 2014. Only one driver has multiple Darlington poles. That's Joey Logano, who swept it in 2022. Chevy last poled this in 2019. Keep in mind, Elliot, no qualifying in 2021 or 2020 at Darlington due to COVID. A couple race trends for you. 8 active drivers are in the field right now who have Darlington wins. 3 drivers have multiple wins. Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, and old Eric Jones is going to be back in the car this week, Elliot.
Yeah, glad to see him back in the car. Hopefully he's feeling good enough to put out a good finish there. Surely one of his favorite racetracks. And real easy to forget that he's got 2 Darlington wins, with the playoff shocker a couple years ago. And then that race they were running still in the middle of the night, I remember, I think it was 2019.
Yeah.
With the rain delay there. Jones ends up getting the win on Throwback Weekend. And with it being Throwback Weekend, we got about half the teams that are running throwbacks. About half the teams aren't. It's a little sad. Nothing for Penske, Stewart-Haas. Half the teams aren't running them.
Penske runs the worst schemes. Like, honestly, I'll never own a Penske diecast because who wants that? That's just not even fun. Okay, so if you're going to circle one trend that I tell you all night, folks, this is it right here. Winners come from the pole 16.8% of the time, front row 31% of the time, top 5 59, and top 10 83%. Those are inflated numbers compared to what we usually look at. Usually a poll is like somewhere in the 13 to 14. So the fact that it's almost all the way up at 17% tell you something. And the fact that the winner comes from the top 10, 83% of the time, Elliot, that really stands out. Usually it's in that 70, 75 range. So the fact that qualifying really matters here, we got to keep some bullets in the chamber for after practice and qualifying. This is one where we could see some odds inflate. We could get some post-practice and qualifying value and have a little more idea of who is going to be fast and compete for this win.
Yeah, and I mean, the practice qualifying will make it pretty obvious. Part of the game in every race is trying to make adjustments on pit road with your car, see if you can make it any better throughout the race. Not that doesn't happen at Darlington, but if you're going to unload well, you're going to run pretty well, and you're going to have the best chance of winning. And the fact that it's another one of those tracks that it's really hard to fake a win, which means that Eric Jones is truly great at Darlington because it wasn't the best moment for Gibbs when he won, and it surely, I think was it Legacy or Petty GMS, whatever it was at that time when he won it. Clearly not the best card. Shows that he's good. We had good old Regan Smith winning the Furniture Row car here a few years, 10 years ago at this point. But other than that, I mean, same as kind of like Dover, same as some of these other tracks. It's a laundry list of guys who are going to be Hall of Famers, who have won a ton of races and championships, things like that. Hard to fake it, and those guys usually are going to qualify well at tracks that they're good at and they have good cars at. Hence these inflated stats.
Yep, 100%. So like you can kind of hope, like we do have some guys in this field like Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex. They can kind of sandbag, I feel like, practice and qualifying a little bit sometimes, and they might start 13th, 14th, 15th like they did last week, and then charge up through the field very early. So I think there might be some value on waiting for guys like that. Like I definitely want some Hamlin and Truex on my card. I don't have any right now, but that's not to say I won't leading up to Sunday. But just something to keep in mind there for drivers like that. Speaking of Martin Truex Jr., let's get to our iFantasyRace.com Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week. And if you guys haven't checked out iFantasyRace.com, we're very thankful to be partners with them. They do great work, everything from getting us the weekly schedule to getting us some of the in-depth analytics or just the surface level loop data. They're going to key you in over there at iFantasyRace.com. So make sure you're checking it out. A lot of the content's free, or you can also subscribe to there and help them out as well. Martin Truex Jr., last fall at Darlington, he finished 18th, Elliot, but I wouldn't read too much into that one. During practice and qualifying, Truex got in the wall, damaged his car, and the team opted to not make repairs. They thought the car was fine. It wasn't. It was not at all. Truex's race wasn't incident-free either, though. On lap 155, Truex was around 15th prior to the green flag cycle and had a loose wheel, had to come back down, kind of shot his day in the foot anyways. But Truex is actually not a terrible value right now compared to some of these other heavy favorites, I think. And kind of hearing this from our friends over at iFantasy Race makes me a little more intrigued because, like, there was that huge outlier when you went back and watched the fall race. You're like, where the fuck is Truex the whole time?
Yeah, and this is actually a good pick this week. I have Truex as one of my picks in my Between Bets article that should come out sometime tomorrow. And part of that was, a big-time asterisk mark, not just in the fall race, but in all 4 races with the next gen. Some shit has happened to that 19 car. And I think it was something like in those 4 races, he had 3 DNFs, but led, I think it was like 228 laps combined in those races. So he's got the speed at Darlington. He always has. He's won there multiple times. Just hasn't had it go right in the next gen. But when it does, clearly he's got speed to run up front. This is a brilliant pick as the Asterisk driver this week.
All right, let's go, baby. All right, let's go ahead though, Elliot. Should we get to the picks? The people they've waited long enough. I'm ready to lay a little bit of coin down.
Yeah, hey, what are we waiting for? Let's go ahead and open up the parking garage and pick the props. So yeah, as we talked about a little bit, it's hard to find avenues to make a lot of money. They're not giving us too many gifts this week, but we can always pick out a little bit of value.
Yeah, looking back kind of at my notes, like I said earlier from last year and seeing such high outright numbers compared to now, like it is the reality. We do have to deal with it. But that's the one great thing about betting multiple series, Elliot, is you can find value elsewhere. And like this is where I honestly sometimes wish we just had a total different show dedicated towards Xfinity, because we have a lot of great Xfinity bets on the card. I think there's a lot of value, a lot of interesting markets out there this week, a little bit of trucks this week as well for us. So, kind of just have to keep the head on a swivel, look around different markets, peruse all the books, and like sometimes you'll find a little bit of hidden value. And but it is what it is. I don't think there's any point in harping on like how short some of these odds have gotten lately.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll go ahead and start with the outrights here. I'll open it up to you first. I got some juicy picks here, but then I got one driver that I think is way big potential for profit there this week.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about one guy tonight and probably like honestly just him a lot. So I apologize. And it's
Hopefully
the guy.
We don't have the same guy.
Well, and it's the guy I can never get right, Elliot. I can never get this guy right, but it's William Byron right now. Plus 850 right now, boosted on Caesars. I think that's a great price. I think that's disrespectful as fuck for the guy who won this race last year. He's number 1 in the Cup Series Darlington Next Gen total speed rankings, number 2 in just the 2023 total speed rankings at Darlington as well. Those resulted in finishes of P4, a win in this race, P8, P13. And what I really like is the consistency in the stages, Elliot. He's scored stage points in 7 out of the 8 stages possible at Darlington in the next gen era. Also been really good at the comps. He was 7th in total speed rankings when we were in Dover a couple weeks ago. Didn't have a great day, had some pit road issues, kind of got in the back and got into some shit. But 4th at Homestead as well last year, one of our other comps. So I think William Byron plus 850, I like him a lot of ways this week, and that's definitely a big one right here in the Cup Series. Give me a little Willie B.
Yeah, so we're kind of on the same page there. You've got one Hendrick guy. I've got another Hendrick guy. I am really high on Chase Elliott this week.
Really?
I know that the next gen numbers are not the best in the speed ranking. He's all the way down in 13th, but he's got a 20th in there along with a couple 10ths and 12ths. It's not even just the results at Darlington. You know, he's had a bunch of top 5s, top 10s here. One of his better tracks. I think he's been top 3 or 4, 6 or 7 times. You know, not counting the incident-free races, has been up there. This is stuff I should have in front of me. It's in the Between Bets article. That's what I'm doing, is I'm just plugging you to read that when it comes out, because that's where I have the numbers written down.
Latest finishes for him: 8th, 3rd, 36th, and 5th. So he has like really good finishes when he does finish here.
Yeah, and the other thing too is what he's done lately. Since ripping out that win at Texas, he's been, I think, top 8 in every other race but Talladega, and that's 3 or 4 races ago, and just been running really, really well. I think Darlington's going to be a place where they can really open up the book, potentially get that second win of the year. And damn, they're going to look good doing it in that 2014 Dale Jr. throwback. But yeah, any Chase number this week, he's at plus 1,600 with the outright over on Bet Rivers. That's a gigantic number, I feel like, for a guy that could easily win this race. Of course, you got the Larson and Hamlin. Larson is at plus 425, Hamlin at plus 500, a little juicy, maybe with a guy like Denny. Wait and see if it drops a little bit, if he ends up putting out somewhat of a stinker in quali. And then, of course, Martin Truex Jr., the other number I have written down here, plus 650, the best odds I saw him over on BetMGM.
Yeah, Chase is interesting, man. I honestly didn't have Chase really on my radar this week. I don't know why. He just didn't pop in any of the advanced analytics I was looking at, I guess. And but 16 to 1 is definitely interesting. I've also been toying around. I have not bet it yet, but I will probably add it to my card, especially after hearing what you said about Chase, would be just the Hendrick outright. I've seen it around plus 180 right now. I think really anything like plus 170 and north is fair for that. I know they just won, and I don't want to just, keep waving the banner here, but
this year it's been Hendrick and Gibbs almost every week. So I know you're like, I don't want to bet Hendrick all the time. I don't want to bet Gibbs all the time. They're winning all the time. So it can make you the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we got some friends popping into the chat. We got Bob saying Elliot looking pretty good lately. What's up, Bob? Good to see you, man.
If Bob's on my side, then I like that 9 pick a lot more too.
Yeah, Bob's a shark out there. We got Charles saying, sorry I missed you guys tonight. Just got home, but I'll watch back. Hey, no worries, Charles. We appreciate either way, man. We appreciate all the IBT family. While we're mentioning the IBT family, if you guys are new to the channel, if you haven't let us known up to this point that you are subscribed, let us know now. Just put in the chat subbed, and we'll get you into our giveaway later tonight. What are we doing? Ty Majeski? Is that
I was about to ask you the same question. We didn't talk about it beforehand, but we got a Ty Majeski autographed throw. I think it's also a throwback truck that we'll give away. I'll have to pull it out of the box over here to show before we spin the wheel. But yeah, another giveaway, and then that'll build up to in the next show giving away an autographed Tyler Reddick card too. That's almost the grand prize. No disrespect to Bailey Curry or to Majeski, but
nice. All right, we got Kush in the chat saying subbed. Yo, that's a great name too. It's a great YouTube name. I'm about that, Kush. Lana saying yes, feeling Chase as this week. And yeah, man, everyone's getting on the Elliott bandwagon a little bit. So let's pivot from that. Do you have anything from a placement prop standpoint? The only thing I can throw out right now that I'm down on Elliott is the William Byron top 5 plus 125 at Caesars. I think anything plus money for a Byron top 5, a guy who's done it the last 2 times here, and is going to be pulling double duty as well. We'll talk more about that later, but I think that's a really fair number for William Byron. So anything from you for placement props? Because I didn't like a lot of the top 5 or top 10 market this week personally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot sitting here. Of course, the Chase Elliott numbers, I do like them a good bit. I don't have coin late on all these, but his top 3 is at plus 425, top 5 at plus 225. Even honest to God, even his top 10 at minus 155. That's a
I don't mind. I don't mind.
That's a hefty
that.
glass of Tropicana to drink, I feel like, but I don't hate that for sure. A couple of top 10s. It's hard to find plus money top 10s, but 2 guys that are not necessarily, they're okay at Darlington. More of the what have you done for me lately. A couple of guys that have been top 10 in each of the last 3 races, the only 2 in the series to have done that, Alex Bowman and Noah Gragson. Bowman is at plus 125 and Gragson plus 150 on DraftKings for top 10. I think those are both good numbers. They're both running really well, and they both have just enough Darlington pedigree that I can see them running 9th and 10th or something like that. I don't really think either of them can win. Gragson is the top Ford at plus 550. Might be intriguing just because Ford has been such dog shit. Maybe I have Joey Logano here, top Ford plus 450 on my sheet here while I'm talking about that too. But the 48 and the 10, they're not going to win the race, but 8th and 9th, 7th and 10th, that'll hit these bets for you.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I've been staring at Noah Gragson's top 10 number go down each and every week. Like when he first got his first consecutive one a couple weeks ago, it was like 7-1, and then it was like 4-1 and 3. Like I've been slowly watching it go down, and now it's like plus 145. I'm like, his luck has to run out, but this is one of his best tracks. When you look at the Xfinity Series too, he's a wheelman at Darlington. Mm-hmm. This fits him perfectly. So yeah, I can't blame it.
It's a tough balance. I try not to weigh Xfinity stuff too heavily when it comes to the Cup side, but that is true. It's one of Gregson's better tracks on the Xfinity side, just because there's so much difference between Xfinity and Cup, and you get to a point where enough time has passed. But I think that it's a hot streak, but I think there's some serious, obviously we know there's talent with Gregson. Obviously he's not going to finish top 10 the rest of the way, but those are good numbers for this week for both of those guys, the 48 and 10.
We got Alfred saying on Truex top 5 plus 105. Byron top 5 though at plus 125, likely better value. Yeah, that was my thought. That was my thought process. Alfred, I'm gonna wait because I think Truex isn't gonna practice and qualify that well. He typically doesn't as of late, so I'm gonna wait. Maybe I can get something closer to like plus 120 on Truex. I think then I'd be a little more interested, a little more keen on that. Also saying the Canby books have superior odds for Truex, top 5 odds. Good to know there. Bob saying RFK fits this track, could show up here pushing each other. Listen, man, I've been toying with that the last couple of weeks and I've got burned by RFK, but and I don't have anything down on them now, but they are damn intriguing, Elliot. Like it's just so weird because Buescher was terrible at Darlington really his whole career until last fall, and he got P4. So like his is like a very big outlier. Brad has been always kind of good at Darlington and also had like great fucking finishes here as well as of lately. 6th, 4th, 7th, and 34th in the next gen era with RFK. So like there is some merit to what Bob's saying here. I just don't know how to bet them. I don't know where the value is right now. 16-1 for a guy who hasn't won in 2 fucking years, really?
Yeah, I mean, RFK maybe it's kind of a blind spot for us this week because I don't really, the only RFK numbers I see on my board are like I see a couple matchups where I'm picking against RFK. So it's maybe we're just not seeing something.
We had Dale Tanhart last night. He was on the NASCAR betting preview show. He loves RFK. He's taken him to the bank. So like I wouldn't mind, honestly. Like I've thought about it. I have it written down here. But I've not bet it. RFK 10-1. I think I could maybe get down with that. Like maybe a little sprinkle.
To win the race?
Yeah, maybe. Like my thing is I just can never get these guys right on who's gonna win. So I like sometimes I just like package them together. But I have seen Buescher out there like 25-1, which you're probably just better off taking if you know what I mean. So yeah, I don't know.
We've gotten to a point where is Keselowski going to win again? A legitimate question when you get guys to this age. Buescher obviously still reaching to, if not in his prime. That I'm taking that number for taking RFK. Just take Brad and chuck him out.
So here is my one question for the chat, because I've been looking everywhere. Like ESPN Bet and FanDuel each week put out like all these specials that, I mean, they put out like 50 a piece. So I'm scrolling through them earlier, Elliot, because the one special I want for RFK, both to finish top 10. I can't find it anywhere. So if anyone in the chat can help me, if you guys know where that bet is, if there is something out there, that is something I think I'd be interested in.
I do like that a lot. If those odds exist, it's a shame, almost a shame we can't. I don't think they let you parlay top tens. So,
Not naturally.
yeah.
We get a lot of the pre-made ones from Caesars each week, and then FanDuel's throwing out crazy shit every week, as well as ESPN Bet.
Mhm.
All right, though, let's go ahead into matchups. Is that good with you?
Yeah, let's roll.
All right, I actually love matchups across all series this week, specifically here starting in the Cup Series, Elliot. I'm going to fade Chris Bell. That's going to be my theme of my two matchups here. I'm taking Kyle Busch over Chris Bell at even money, plus 100 at DraftKings, going a unit and a half on that. And then William Byron, minus 135 at Caesars over Christopher Bell. I touched on Byron earlier. I don't really need to talk about him much more, I don't think, here.
Mhm.
However, why I'm fading Christopher Bell in both these matchups, Elliot, number 9 in the Cup Series Darlington Next Gen Total Speed Rankings. You might think, okay, that's not terrible. However, he is 16th if you look at the Next Gen Total Speed Rankings just in 2023. So just take out 2020.
I see a big old. You got it from. I have the total Next Gen Speed Rankings up here for Bell. It goes from obviously the 2 and 22 and the 2 and 23, 7, 4, 6, and 25. So that could almost be an asterisk mark early playoff for Bell there, because I have the other side of that matchup. Bell plus 105 over Byron is one of the ones on my board.
Okay. So I guess also I just don't like that Bell's just not great at the high tire wear tracks traditionally. He won Homestead last year. That's the one outlier that you have to go against. But when you look at the total speed rankings at the high tire wear tracks in 2023, Christopher Bell's all the way down at 18th. William Byron's at 2. Kyle Busch is at 9. And looking at the Darlington Next Gen Speed Rankings, Kyle Busch and William Byron are 1-2. Like they go back to back. Kyle Busch is looking better and better. Dover's one of our comp tracks, and he was lights out quick at Dover the entire day. Probably one of his strongest races of the season, and just better in all the metrics I'm seeing it advance here. So I'm on Busch. I'm on Byron. Fuck Bell.
Understandable, but like I said, I've got the other side of that matchup. Like I said, I'm finding any way to bet Chase Elliott this week. Minus 120 over Keselowski over on Caesars.
Can't do that.
He's even at minus 114 over Kyle Busch. I don't love that one as much, but I jotted it down. And I'm really digging into these qualifying matchups too that Caesars have had.
Okay.
Kyle Busch over Ryan Blaney at even money plus 100. Just with how Rowdy's qualifying lately. Pulled it at Dover, one of our comp tracks, unexpectedly in the top 10 last week. That was the only quality matchup I won last week. I think it was Rowdy over Joey Logano at Kansas. So I like the 8 car to keep qualifying well. Doesn't matter how he does in the race. I can take that money as soon as P&Q's over on Saturday.
Who was that matchup over, Elliot?
Ryan Blaney. And just
Ryan
the Fords. Fords are mid. Blaney has been kind of a mid Ford. I think he is going to win a race, get to the playoffs, obviously series champion last year. They get there by the end of the year. We're still early enough in the year. We're still okay to kind of fade Ford, and the books are doing the same. Ford plus 450 to win again this week. So another big number there.
Yeah, I don't mind that bet with Kyle Busch in practice or in qualifying, to be honest with you. 2 reasons. One, he's going to touch the track first, at least in trucks.
Yeah. True.
Totally different racing vehicle, but I think he's still touching it first. And then also just the fact, across all series the last 2 or 3 years, RCR just unloads fucking rockets here. I don't know what it is, but Austin Hill has been bad fast in the Xfinity Series here in the last couple of years. So is Sheldon fucking Creed. Sheldon Creed almost pulled out a couple of wins in RCR. And then Kyle Busch, and then before him, Tyler Reddick in this car as well. Just always had speed, qualified very well. So yeah, you might talk me into that one, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if it was even at plus 110 or plus 120, I'd like a little more at the even money though, with how Rowdy's been lately. I can deal with that.
We got Alfred saying Blaney minus 106 over Logano is interesting. Blaney is better in the next gen Darlington 2023 high tire wear and recent high speed intermediates courtesy iFantasy race. Shout out iFantasy race. Yeah, man, I'd have to give that a look. I honestly didn't pay much attention to Blaney because he just didn't pop in my modeling this week, Elliot. But I will say that Logano won here a couple years ago too. If you remember, he gave William Byron a little shove with a couple to go.
Yeah, I wonder is the Logano number also minus 106, or is he plus money in this? Because if they're both even, it's you flip a coin. They're both talented drivers, both in the same Penske equipment that's been underwhelming to start the year. If you can get the plus money on Logano,
damn, Logano's really down there actually in the Darlington Total Speed rankings. Now that that's pointed out.
Yeah, in the next gen, he hasn't been great. Ford it's been tough for Ford to be consistent, especially on tracks like this.
I don't mind that actually. I don't mind that, Alfred. That I might be giving that a second look. I see. That's why we do this, man. That's
absolutely
like right there. I love when people throw out their bets to us in the chat, and especially when they're sharp bets like this. Like this is one I'm honestly going to be giving a good look at.
For sure. Yeah, and we don't have all the books legal to us. We're both in Pennsylvania, so we can't necessarily look at all the odds in the same way. And even if we could, there's just so much shit out there. Obviously, we're going to miss something. We only have so much time to prep. We can't throw out every bet from every book, so it is super awesome when you guys share the good finds that you got with us. If we all this is about, having some fun, you drinking some Busch and just trying to make us some money. So if we can all work together collectively to do that, then it's worth it.
Yeah, let's go into specials if that works with you, and round out the Cup Series before we talk about some of the other series if that works.
Yeah, so I had these in my specials category, but this is also technically a matchup. The McDowell matchup, front row over Spire is at -115. Obviously, neither of them have numbers that really pop out here, but I just don't see any of the three Spire guys outrunning McDowell or Gilliland this week. And Hendrick Motorsports over Gibbs is at +120. And with what a coin flip that has been in their histories there, a Hendrick driver beating a Gibbs driver, and the teams overall matching up to give Hendrick that win, very plausible, and that's a pretty good number.
Yeah. I don't mind the Spire one at all. Fading Spire right now. Carson Hocevar has not looked bad at some of these intermediates, so he's kind of racy here. I think he's been good in the truck here as well.
My thing with Hocevar is because I briefly was thinking about his top 10 again because he's kind of snuck in there. Almost last week at Kansas was a little sneaky in the before getting a flat tire or something like that. But with Hocevar, the wider 1.5 miles, it's not as easy to run into people. They don't take quite as much. Darlington's way more of a driver's track. And I'm not saying Hocevar is not a talented driver, but I can just as easily see him getting into trouble, getting too into the wall with getting the Darlington stripe on that thing to for sure keep it out of the top 10 and potentially, relegate him to being 2 laps down and 20 by the end of it.
For sure. Bob saying in the chat he had Jones back in the race in 2022 when he won that 0.1 unit for 75-1. Not doing it this week, but worth mentioning. Yeah, there's actually a Noah Gragson -160 out there versus Eric Jones. Did you see that, Elliot?
I didn't see that, but I would probably take it just because with back injuries and driving with next gen car and driving a NASCAR, Hamlin, it took him almost a year to recover. Bowman, we're arguably just now seeing him get back to his pre-back injury form. For Jones, I mean, I don't want to say the rest of the year is a write-off because he's been so good at Darlington and he's got those tracks where he can be good, but especially not being in a top car, it may be a case where Jones is a write-off the rest of the year.
If it was like a -140 or a -130, maybe like
that number in particular is a hefty glass to drink for sure.
It's just hard to drink that much juice at Darlington where there are some bigger wrecks with some of the higher speed you're going in these corners.
That lady in black can come out and bite you. And
exactly.
If it catches Gregson, then you don't want to lose that big of a number for sure.
Exactly. So that's the only reason I didn't go ahead and drink that. One special I did get down on, guys, and this is why we throw out fun ones like this, because sometimes there's some real merit to it. Kyle Busch to win both in the Truck Series and Cup Series right now. 45-1 on Caesars. Elliot, you a couple weeks ago, you went with the Truex Brothers sweep, and on Sunday you're looking at a 44-1 Martin Truex Jr. outright. If you bet this, like really, I'm high on Kyle Busch. I kind of just talked about him. Like Kyle Busch, according to the next gen total speed rankings at Darlington, is one of the best. One of the fastest, whatever equipment he's been in, he's been good here. We already said we kind of like RCR a little bit this week, and he's a favorite in the trucks for a reason as well. So I don't mind. I put 0.3 of a unit, just a little sprinkle on this because I don't mind 16-1 on Kyle Busch either, just to win in the Cups. I don't think it's a bad number, but to have a chance at a 45-1 ticket going into Sunday, I want that, bro. Let's giddy up.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. I may or may not have another one of those on the board for later in the show to discuss.
Ooh. Ooh.
But the truck field has become more competitive, at least at the front. I don't know that Rowdy can win either of these races, honestly. I think obviously got a better shot in the trucks, but that's going to be a tough one. But hey, if he gets the trucks done and you go into Sunday with that big ass ticket like I had at Dover, that's a pretty good feeling. So I don't blame you one bit for that.
Yeah, I'll ride it, man. We rode it at Pocono last year too, if you remember. We
Right.
had
Yep.
wasn't quite as big of a number because he was a pretty heavy favorite at Pocono as well. But yeah, let's get back to it. Rowdy sweep, baby. All right. Let's go ahead to Xfinity Series if that works with you, unless you have any more specials.
Yeah, I have a couple. Did like the driver over/under finishes? Where do they fit in? Would that have been in matchups or a special?
That would have been more of a position prop, I would imagine.
Yeah,
but
I guess so. I mean, we can. I really don't have a lot of specials on the book this week. Like I mentioned, Ford is at plus 450, Chevy at plus 145, and there just wasn't a whole lot out there for me that I really liked. Some of these driver over/under, like the number props, they were all kind of mid this week. The only other one I have written down, under 3.5 Chevys in the top 10 at plus 135, but you really got to hope for some issues with the Hendrick guys for that to happen. So I don't even like that enough. So I will shout out a couple of these ones just because I must have forgotten they're down here in the specials because I did them a little later. Ryan Blaney, fading him a bit. Blaney over 11.5 finishing position at even money. And for Bubba Wallace, over 13.5.
Okay.
It's also at even money. With the Blaney one, of course, there's not as much. That's more of a gut feeling with the Fords not quite getting up there. Bubba Wallace, the team has run well, just has not been able to put the finishes together, has run into issues literally each of the last 4 weeks with decent runs. So I would take a little sprinkle of the even money there to say the 23 is going to finish outside of that top 13.
It's not a bad play, man. Like Bubba has been disappointing everyone bad. I try to avoid the 23-11 hype last week a little bit. And I had a little sprinkle on Tyler Reddick, but outside of that, tried to stay away. And I'm pretty happy I did. Kush in the chat saying best weekend for Kyle Busch so far. Yeah, I hope, man. I hope. I think it lines up for him pretty well. Stan saying, do we like RCR enough to bet Dylan top 10 at plus 750?
I like RCR enough. I just don't like Austin Dillon enough. If you're going to do it, this is the place to do it. Darlington's had some surprising good runs, but just Austin Dillon this year. I mean, stinky.
Yeah, man, it hasn't been fucking pretty for Austin Dillon. The one thing, like he does finish okay here in the next gen. He does have one top 10 back in the first time we raced here in the next gen, a ninth, and like he does have like some surprising, like a runner up back in 2020, a fourth place back in 2017. So like you're fishing a little bit, but I don't know. It's hard. His most recent finishes stand are 20th, 35th, and 17th here, if that helps, and like kind of just in that middle of the pack. In the total speed rankings as well, Elliot. 19. That's not terrible.
Like I said, if you're going to take the shot on Austin Dillon, this is probably the week to do it. But I will surely wouldn't throw the mortgage on it.
Yeah, I wonder almost if you could find a better number than that, Stan.
Probably. I mean, we'll have to check how it is on Bet Reviews because I know they usually throw out a lot of good ones. I'll see if I can get that up.
I have plus 750 right now on Caesars. I would check out FanDuel and ESPN. Sometimes they have some better options on the long shot stand. So like maybe if I could find like a 10-1, I would consider it. 7.5. I just think it's, I don't know. I'd have to see what the implied odds are on that. I have to run that through the calculator, but
plus 750 is a good number. Bet Rivers is at plus 550 for Dylan for a top 10. So
yeah, a little bit of value there.
Yeah, I kind of like that better now that I see that.
Let's talk Xfinity here, Elliot. Man, I love William Byron. I love him. I think when you're putting a guy in the car who's been as good at Darlington as he has in the Cup Series, and like, listen, I know he was absolute dog shit earlier this year in Phoenix when he got in one of these Xfinity cars, but we have to keep in mind Kyle Larson took this Hendrick car to different number, same car pretty much in my mind to victory lane last year in this race, and was also running top 5 in Darlington in the Xfinity Series last fall before he had a mechanical issue. Byron only has one Xfinity start here. He started 6th, finished 5th. To me, I'm pounding William Byron top 3 minus 125 at Bet Rivers. You can also get him top Chevy plus 110. I don't mind that either at Caesars. But William Byron, outright plus 300 at Bet Rivers. I went 2 full units on it. I'm fucking full. I'm full send on Byron here, man. I think he gets it done. I think the equipment plus just this guy's fucking skill. Let's get you up here. I think he's learned a thing or two since 2017 when he last raced here in this series.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. That's a hefty number, though. Like, obviously, that 17 car, going to be the best car equipment-wise. I don't know if it's someone else or if it's Greg Ives, crew chief, in that. We know Greg Ives is a good crew chief. We know
Love Greg Ives.
We know that they've got the stuff there. But I just thought the numbers were too juicy. I mean, Justin Allgaier, with how well he's run here, being at plus 450. And that's the nice thing about both Xfinity and trucks this week is that with the big Cup whales in the series, you get some really good numbers, even for guys who would normally be the favorites. Allgaier plus 450. My parlay of the week, Allgaier winning Xfinity and Truex winning in the Cup, plus 4,025. So 40 to 1 odds there. And Eric Almirola plus 800 for that outright. I come back with completely off of him at Martinsville, goes out there and wins it. I like that number this week too.
Let's fucking talk about that guy, Eric Almirola. I'm back in as well. I did go on the outright plus 850 at DraftKings. I found him. So a little bit more value there. Yeah. So what do we think about Eric Almirola this week? So not only can you get him plus 850 at DraftKings for the outright, top 5 at Caesars plus 120. I win a unit and a half on that. Couldn't help myself. Eric Almirola minus 125 versus Sheldon Creed at Caesars. Win a unit and a half on that. Couldn't help myself. Sorry. So let's just say if Eric Almirola and William Byron have bad weeks, I'm having a bad week. But keep in mind, Elliot, this 20 car led 156 laps last season with John Hunter Nemechek across both races here. If you remember, John Hunter almost won that race, this race, and Larson kind of doored him, spun him out. He still finished top 5 in both of those races. Also, John Hunter Nemechek finished 4th in this car at Homestead last year. Ryan Truex won with this car at one of our comp tracks, Dover, 2 weeks. Like, this is arguably one of the best cars in the Xfinity Series, no matter who's jumping in it. Almirola finishes of 12th, 31st, 2nd, and 1st in Xfinity so far this season. So he's been fairly consistent, wrecked out at Phoenix. But honestly, like, Almirola is decent. When you look at his stats at Darlington, Elliott, we talked about it, holds the qualifying lap record in Cup, finished 14th in the Fall Cup race, but was top 15 in laps inside the top 15, and also 9th at Homestead last year in the Cup Series. So another comp track. Like, this is an old bull track. This is for old bull. This is for our old bulls. And, like, he's going to get after it, man. Like, I get up on the wheel, Eric Almirola. I'm full send, man.
Yeah, I like Almirola this week. John Hunter also in the race in the other Gibbs All-Star car. I have a matchup over Sam Mayer at even money that I put.
He's actually in the Sam Hunt 26.
Okay.
So
that makes that number look far less appealing, to the point where I probably won't throw any coin on it. But
so I saw it 2 nights ago at 16 to 1. And I thought the same thing, Elliot. I was going to hammer it down. And then I saw the Sam Hunt car. I said, I don't know. I looked more into that car, and if I could still find 16 to 1, I would get that. But when I went back today and I looked and got down on all my Xfinity bets, I only found like 12 to 1. I was like, I'm good.
Honest to God, it's probably people making the same mistake. I just figured he would be in one of the cars.
So
Almirola would be the other one. I guess they're not. They don't have 2 All-Star cars this year.
Funny enough, well, they do. They have the 19, if you remember, but Taylor Gray just owns that for whatever reason. But John Hunter. Mark Skybox NASCAR and our NASCAR betting preview show last night, he did the same thing. He live bet it during the show, and then he realized right after it. So go check that. Yeah, check that out after this if you want to.
That outs me not being able to catch the show last night too. So
yes, yeah, double fuck you from Elliot here. I don't mind JHN top 5 though, 2 to 1 at ESPN. I win a little bit of coin on that. And what about your guy Carson Kvapil? I didn't go on the outright. I didn't have the nerves to back him on the top 5. However, he is over there at Caesars plus 240 on Group B. I have to remember that's Taylor Gray in that group. It's Brandon Jones and someone else kind of shitty. I thought that.
Yeah. If you want to take a look at that, I like Jones and Kvapil's positional props that are offered this week. Jones's top 3 is a plus 700. For Quapple in the 88, it's up to plus 750. Their top 5s for Jones is plus 400. For Quapple, plus 450. I don't know quite how I'm going to piggyback these yet. I'll probably do one of them bet that top 3, one of them bet that top 5. JRM's got the talent here. Could easily see, 7-car winning, 9-car, 88-car, at least up there in the top 10. Unfortunately, they don't give us the top 10s for the Xfinity, at least not at Darlington. Some of those numbers I would have liked a lot better. But definitely don't sleep on JRM this week. I know that they always find ways to shoot themselves in the foot, have something go wrong with their cars, end up with, should have 4 guys in the top 11, and then 3 of them end up, so one guy blows a motor, 2 guys crash on pit road or something. They do something stupid to each other. But on paper, JRM and Almirola, probably 2 of my favorites this week.
Yeah, I like Carson Quapple, man. Like, we know this car, when it gets the funding, when it's in the race, it's fucking fast every time. We know this kid has 2 top 5s.
Shout out to him getting more funding. He's going to run 6 more Xfinity races.
Yes.
This wasn't on his schedule, even when we were at Dover a couple of weeks ago. But I don't have the company name in front of me. It's a nice looking car. Gets him in for another 6 races, including Fall Darlington. So if he does well here, Fall Darlington, Quapple is going to be a big-time bet for sure.
Yeah. That Group B I was talking about, Brandon Jones, Carson, Taylor Gray, Sammy Smith. Okay. I think Carson could potentially out. I'm not scared of any of those guys. I really am not. Couple notes here from the chat. Bob saying Quapple, baby, on Wisconsin, 30-1 Xfinity. Man.
Yeah. And I had his outright at Dover. I'm not taking his outright.
You're not going back for it?
It's the same sort of thing I said with Hocevar. It's that, you have talented guys, but just something about Darlington can come out and bite you that quick, and your car's fucked. Your race could be over.
Spry Sheep saying JHN on another team was certainly a head scratcher when I saw the entry list.
And he's run that car before. That they had some sort of alliance with Gibbs.
Yeah,
it's not quite as good as the Gibbs cars.
Yeah, when I first used to see Sam Hunt race, and I was like, is that the country singer? Does he own that team? He doesn't. It's not him. I promise you. It's not Sam Hunt. The only other driver in the Xfinity Series we haven't talked about that I would like to just quickly mention, I did lay a little bit of a hammer. Sam Mayer, minus 115 over Riley Herbst. Sam Mayer's been arguably one of the more surprising drivers the last couple of weeks in the Xfinity Series. Had a really nice run at Dover a couple weeks ago, top 3 for him there. He won Homestead, one of our other comp tracks, last fall as well, Elliot. So Sam Mayer's a good little racer here. Riley Herbst, just, I don't know if it's like the piano's falling out of the sky on this guy, but it just doesn't seem like Riley Herbst really has it. And when you look at his finishes here too, just not great. So I don't even mind Sam Mayer on the outright 16-1. I took a tiny sprinkle on that. That was like my longest shot for the Xfinity Series. But Sam Mayer versus Riley Herbst, minus 115 at ESPN. Can you get behind it, Elliot? A little JRM action.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been talking up 3 other JRM cars, so why not put Mayer up there? I don't have anything on the outright. I don't feel super confident about it, but you're right. He won Homestead. I was too busy watching 5th place in that Bass Pro Shops 88 car with Junior. Forgot that Mayer even won that race, but.
No, that was the highlight of that race. Let's be honest, man. Anytime Junior's in, that's all I'm fucking watching too.
Man, I'm telling you, and I don't even think I'll be on the show come fall Bristol, but god damn it, I'm laying money on that Dale Junior outright at Bristol.
Yeah, you can make a little video. You can give us a little hit. We know.
Yeah, I'll be sitting in the middle of a music festival, the only moron looking at NASCAR stats on his phone, but hey, it'll be a great time.
There you go. Anything else from an Xfinity standpoint you wanted to throw out?
Now let's go to the trucks.
Okay. All right. Did you have anything for the trucks that you like? There's one bet I really like that I would like to touch on, but I'll give you the stage first if you have something.
Yeah. 2 that I'm seriously looking at, Corey Heim being a plus 400. Anytime you can get Heim at a better number than the super juicy outright favorite, I like that. Everyone loves Taylor Gray. Taylor Gray top 5 at plus 190. And I do have Ross Chastain, if you like him as a driver, a lot better than the truck will be driving. His outright's all the way up at plus 1100.
I know, dude. That's like putting a Busch Light in front of me on like a Sunday, because I typically, honestly, not a huge drinker on Sundays. Like I like to drink on Fridays and Saturdays and Thursday nights and Tuesday nights sometimes. But like Sunday's my recovery day, and like sometimes I see a good Busch Light in the fridge on Sunday for a race. Maybe I should. But yeah, seeing Ross Chastain at 11-1, like
the only problem with that is this is the analogy I'm going to use since you brought up the Busch Light. You know that the Busch in the can is good. It's the same formula. It's a good formula. It's the Busch Light you love. You don't know if that can's been sitting out in the hot sun all day and Yeah, might not be the car that can get you to victory and finish up that bush.
This truck fucking sucks. Let's just be let's just say it what it is,
All right,
honestly, bro.
all right. Yeah, you said it. We were dancing around it a little bit, but the equipment just probably not there for Chastain.
If anyone relatively connected to the NASCAR industry is ever listening to this show, like, can we just start a petition to get Ross Chastain in a half-ass fucking truck? Like, God, Zane Smith goes down and gets hot rods every fucking week. Like, just get Ross in something good, because like you can't really, like, 11-1 like makes you want to bet that, but when you look at his finishes here in this truck, or just in this truck anywhere, they're not good.
No, so that's why it's tempting enough, worth the mention.
Yeah,
but I don't know that any coin's going on it. I should have looked at maybe his top 5 number. I bet that's not bad.
Yeah, I even saw Christian Eckes plus 525 boosted all the way for a win to go back to back here.
Okay.
And instead, though, I'm going to go with a special over here at Caesars top 5 parlay. Corey Himes, Christian Eckes. I'm taking the chalk plus 210, Elliot, for a top 5 combo here. I watched back this race earlier this week. These were the 2 best trucks in this race by far. Heim dominated early, faded late on a restart. Eckes ends up winning it. And I will say, I am Seth statting this a little bit. Like, this is kind of a bullshit fuckery stat, but they have not finished top 5 only like 2 times out of 5 like traditional ovals this year, but top 6, Elliot, 4 out of 5 times at the traditional oval. So throwing out the super speedways, throwing out the road course, like on the traditional ovals, they've gotten in the top 6, 4 or 5 plus 210. That's my only truck series bet that I'm down on.
That's not a fuckery stat. That's, you're looking at the data and you're saying it's more likely than not they're probably going to be around the top 5. Could very easily see it happen. Like I said, big time driver track, big time you need the good equipment to get up there. And with how the truck series works, unless you run into trouble, oftentimes it's going to be the same crew that runs up front.
Like, we know it's going to be Kyle Busch up there, and if Eckes and Heim keep themselves clean, it's probably going to be them. Like, they're the next guys. So
like that. That's the only thing, is you have Kyle Busch is all but guaranteed to take one of those top 5 spots. So it's just a matter of can they be 2 of the other 4.
Yeah, no Zane Smith though, so that's a good thing. Right. I think for this. Kush saying Sunday is beer day.
Yeah, I mean, you're telling me you don't crack a Busch Light during the race, man? Come on, that's my most likely day to crack one.
Sometimes Sunday is my Kush day. Let's just say that. Anything else from a betting standpoint, Ellie, before we hop over to some tiers?
No, I think we're ready for the tiers, man.
All right, let's do it.
So throwback tier maker, if you notice, with some of these numbers here, we're working on keeping it better and fresher for you every week, and we were able to mix in some of the throwbacks for the guys who have them. So some driver changes. You have Heim in the 43. I think it is going to be Jones in the 43, and so trophy hunting number 16, Derek Kraus. I think it's safe to say he will not be ranked on the board this week in that 16.
No, fucking Derek Kraus. We don't need to talk about it.
All right, so we know Terry Labonte here is going to probably go in the A's. Yeah, Kyle Larson, probably maybe not the A1 this week, but
that's such a fucking sweet scheme too. Honestly,
yeah, I mean, Hendrick knocked it out of the park with all the throwbacks for sure, and we got some real nice ones here on the board. We can touch on them individually as we go through. But I mean, how do you not have the 5 and the 11 as the top 2? I think that one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and I think honestly the way you laid it for DFS makes sense. Like Larson has a little bit higher of a floor, honestly. Like Larson last week, 76 points for him. So I think he's gonna have another good one here as well. And 5, 11, 19, 24. Put the 20.
24 and 9 were probably gonna be my next 2.
Yeah. Do you think the 9's an A? You think the 9's an A?
I think so. Who would you argue to put ahead of him, honestly, on this?
Nobody. That would be the thing. If he's the A, he's probably the last A.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the board, that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. I'm there.
Is Chris Bell and Gibbs enough for the Bs? Fill out the rest of the Gibbs and Hendrick cars in the Bs.
Not Bowman.
Not Bowman. Yeah,
or
Bowman
Gibbs.
Probably a C. You're right. Yeah, Ty probably a C also. Where's that 54? Here we go. Interstate batteries.
I think Ross Chastain deserves to be
Yeah.
above Chris Bell.
Yep, I agree. Good call. If I can get him to bump over there.
You're paying more for Ross this week, and like the thing about Ross, and like he's another guy I would love to have on my betting card somehow, Elliot, but like he doesn't get the finishes. He's too volatile right now, and like I think he's a back end top 10 car here for me this week. Still like having pretty decent DFS days, 52, 41, 21 the last 3 weeks, so hasn't been killing you. But like even at Dover, we expected him to be a major player at Dover, and you know, comp track didn't really show up.
Nope. Any argument for RFK or maybe even Gregson in the Bs?
I would, wherever we put Keselowski, I think he should be a bit higher than Buescher, just based on again, Buescher was pretty volatile here, like before that last fall race here. So I would almost put like Noah Gragson ahead of Buescher. Maybe that's crazy throwing Gragson up there, but at 7,200 right now on DraftKings, if you're playing over on FanDuel or Fantrax, excuse me, like you're only paying like 12, 13 bucks still. Like he's still super affordable. And keep in mind, Gragson's won here in the Xfinity Series. He's been a top 5 car multiple times. I think Noah, like it's gonna be chalky as fuck. We know that, Elliot. But you got to go back to the drawing board. His totals the last 5 weeks: 30, 38, 76, 28, 31.
Yeah, for sure. Any thought to Rowdy up in the Bs, or are you thinking high C?
No,
I gotta put price up here.
Yeah, absolutely. I would argue Rowdy, Keselowski all ahead of Bell. Like I'm
fair,
low.
Yeah. Bell I think is probably good there.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And yeah, we touched on Kyle Busch earlier, guys, but you know, gonna touch the track on Friday night, multiple, you know, throughout qualifying and practice, and also then again for the race. And he's been fast here. The RCR unloads fast, so like the call with Kyle Busch for that tier 2. Is there anyone in tier 2 we're missing? For you, is Blaney deserving? Is Logano deserving? We know Logano has a win here recently, but like his rankings were super low for total speed, as well as Ryan Blaney, just kind of not where you would think he should be either.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that they deserve the C's here, and probably 2311 somewhere mixed in here as well. Those two cars.
Yeah,
maybe even just Reddick, maybe even Bubba Wallace down to the D's.
Yeah, I would argue. Yeah, Tyler Reddick's another guy, man. He burned a lot of people last week. I know a lot of people were paying up for Reddick, and he was kind of a big time disappointment. And
yeah,
my thing with Reddick this week, dude, is he's 10-7, Elliot. Like that's
10-7.
That's or 10-3, excuse me. Like that's right up there. Truex is 10-7. Like
yeah, I see.
Elliot's 9-8. So yeah, 45 I think is good where we have him now. Looking at that. Oh man. Oh wow. We just hit another tier break.
Jones probably at least in the Fs, if not the Ds, just because of his pedigree here.
For sure. Yeah.
I'll throw him in the Ds because of his pedigree, even though I don't think he'll be, spectacular.
I wish AJ Allmendinger's in that 16 car. AJ Allmendinger had a surprise, really nice top 10 performance last year here. Justin Haley, we can throw him back in the Fs. I think he belongs down there. He had some really strong performances at Darlington last year. His point totals last 4 weeks, 42, 33, 3, and 26, but 33 at Dover. So like finished 23rd in that race, qualified dead fucking last. So like, he's going to have some differential for you again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm going to put Suarez in the Fs just for equipment. He's run terrible lately. Chastain was better last week, and Suarez was nowhere to be seen. I mean, he's, especially with the silly season stuff. I know I'm not going to get into too much of a silly season soapbox. Suarez being in a contract year, and Zane Smith, the Trackhouse prospect, currently nowhere for next year. Shane Van Gisbergen, not sure what his plans are. Daniel Suarez, he's got the Atlanta win, but damn, man, if he keeps pulling out these shitty performances, that seat's going to be that seat's got to be pretty hot. I'll avoid the joke I was going to make, but it's going to be a hot seat. I'm going to immediately pivot away from that to probably putting Daniel Hemrick probably in the Ds. I got to look up what he did last week in terms of fantasy points. Okay, not so great last week.
Yeah, finally had a down week, but remember, he had a good week at Dover a couple weeks ago. Like some of that was, was strategy based. He got out, but
most of it was strategy based. Let's be real. He got the caution at the right time. But
throw him in the Fs there.
He's worthy of being ranked for sure.
Bob saying Reddick 2-3 22-2 last 4 races here. Yeah, like 100%. He also runs super fucking high and can hit the wall at any point, dude.
Yeah.
That's like he's if any of his guys gonna go home with a Darlington stripe, like I wish we could bet on that. I bet like who's gonna hit the wall.
First Darlington stripe, Tyler Reddick minus 10,000.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Austin Dillon can be ranked in the Fs, maybe even ahead of Suarez this week.
Yeah, good
But
thinking.
like we said, we like RFK. The fantasy points just haven't been there at most races. But you know, you're paying what you're getting for it, 6-3.
Yeah. Any thought to Stuart Haas? We don't have any of those guys in the war, I don't think, right now.
Briscoe's just like he's never gonna kill you, you know. So you can throw him. Like I don't love the price this week, 6,800. It's kind of high. Maybe a high F for Briscoe. I would argue Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Watching back the races from last year, Stenhouse, it was almost like Dover. He was racing really well in those races, Elliot, and then just kind of fell back. This is one of Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s actually better tracks as well. So I think like. I don't even know what his top 10 number would be. I know we're kind of out of betting here, Elliot, but Ricky Stenhouse Jr. recent finishes here at Darlington 16th, 13th, 35th, and 8th. Like, I don't know. Has a couple stage finishes with some stage points. Not the worst play, I don't think.
Yeah, I think those numbers and the fact that we have not many Ds, I think is probably worthy of putting them in the Ds here.
Yeah, absolutely. What about McNasty? Where does McNasty belong to you?
I don't know.
He hasn't been good here. I looked at his stats because Caesars was offering the like over under 21.5 for him, but that's like right where he's finished. So I think he deserves to be ranked, you know, potentially ahead of Suarez. And
maybe, I mean, the way it's looking, you were excited enough about Haley. Maybe Haley almost gets a bump to the Ds, and then we put McDowell and perhaps Golan in the Fs.
And I again, let's keep in mind, folks, why we're ranking Haley there is like not because we think he's going to finish above these other guys, but it's because he's going to score more points, and it's for the price tag. 5,300 is what you're paying Haley for. So yeah, I'm fine with that for sure.
Yeah, the tier makers definitely focus more heavily on DFS, which is why Daniel Hemrick being on the board is allowed at all.
Yeah, for real.
He's been good in DFS, so he's certainly worth the look.
What do you do with fucking Josh Berry, bro? Like,
man, I don't know.
Like, it's just he's been fine. Finishes a 15th, 14th, and 16th as of late, but his upside's just so capped, and like he should be better at tracks like Darlington, at tracks like Dover, where he's been good in Xfinity. But like he deserves to be ranked, but I don't know if I can get him even past Chase Briscoe at this point.
Yeah, I mean, looking at his last 3 races here, 44, 29, and 30 points. So he's kind of on a little upswing there.
Yeah, it's not bad for the price I guess you're paying this week, 6,700. You can make do. Like I'd rather play Stenhouse. I think I'd rather play Bear or Briscoe or McDowell, but he's in that range.
Yeah, I think so. Some of these, I mean, has Cindric been all right lately? His price is probably a little overinflated. Or no, he's all the way down at 62. I mean, getting involved in the crash last week was not a very good fantasy week, but yeah, nothing really stands out to me here. Hasn't had like a really good fantasy day since all the way back in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's been a tough fucking go for Cindric. I don't know if I can rank him at his price tag. Like I know it's low for Cindric and his equipment, but like throw John Hunter on the board. I think at 6,000, I would almost put him above probably all those Fords in F at least. Like John Hunter has some upside. He's been good at a couple surprising tracks this season so far. Got you 37 points at Dover 2 weeks ago, comp track, and then we know what he's done here in the Xfinity Series as well. Like I don't know, John Hunter could even make a D case for him.
I don't hate that. You know, the numbers are there for sure. It's Todd Gilliland. He's gotten above 30 points in 3 of the last 5, but not, you know, Dover was only 9 points. That didn't really go that well for him.
End of the Fs, I'd say. End of the Fs. Hocevar deserves to be ranked here, I'd say as well. And I don't think I can rank anyone else, dude.
No, I don't think so. I mean, Corey LaJoie, there's just no upside there anymore. You know, so he's really been overlooked at Spire. Rick Ware, you know, Kaz Gralla, nothing that stands out. We already talked about Krause, so we know what Harrison Burton's deal is. Zane's been terrible. And Ryan Preece, you know, he's at this point, I think regardless, he's probably out of that 41 this year. I'm glad he got the shot a couple years ago. You know, I'm glad that Tony banked on his guy and got him in there. But it's more likely he's probably back to modifieds next year. But this isn't a silly season show. This is a betting show. And I like the way that this looks out for DFS purposes.
Yeah, no, I think we absolutely nailed it, honestly. And I think those low tier guys are going to mean something this week because last week, despite not the best betting week, Elliot, for my season long league and fan tracks and my DFS lineups, like they were hot money. They were hot money because I did a lot of lineups, man, where I did one dude where I got Hamlin, Truex, and Larson all stuffed into it.
Wow.
And then I just took my shot. You know what I mean? Like I did have a Riley Herbst in there, which kind of hurts a little bit, but I was also able to find some values down the board, like Justin Haley. He scored some points for me. I had him in a lineup with I went with the Rick Ware combo down there, and Haley got me like 42 points as well. So like these guys, they don't matter for betting, but it's fun that we at least get to talk about the Hemis and the McNasties and the Haleys of the world for a little bit.
Yeah, and that's always been the beauty of it for me to be able, because every driver can have value in DFS at any week. Like I said, Daniel Hemrick's the most obvious case. In betting, he's not there. You're not going to bet his top 10, but damn if you're not going to throw up at the end of a fantasy lineup and get better value almost every week.
Yeah. I'm curious to see where he starts this week because he qualified really good at Dover a couple weeks ago. So curious to see how he does this week and kind of what that upside is. Anything else from you from a DFS or betting standpoint before we get into our giveaway?
No, I don't think so. And I think we've gone longer than I thought we would tonight. This audience is ready. I think it's time to give away another diecast.
All right. Yeah, let's do it, man. This is the Ty Majeski throwback autographed diecast, right? As Elliot grabs that, great stage.
Yeah, this is great showtime here. I got to grab it and pull it out.
Go ahead.
We'll give people another second to enter. If you haven't already commented and subscribed, we'll get this finalized.
Yeah. Let us know you're subbed. If you don't see your name on the list right now, I see Cush in there. I see Spry Sheep. I got you in there, man. I got Bob. I got Stan. I got Lana. I think Alfred's in there. We got Alfred, right? Yeah, Alfred, you're in there as well. I think most of our regular listeners in there are all ready to go. So, yeah, Elliot, we got Ty Majeski loaded up. I'll tell you what, man, Ty Majeski wrecking out early last week. I had a little matchup with him, Elliot. I had a little versus Ty Majeski. I can't remember who. Zayden Smith versus Majeski. Majeski wrecks out on lap 2. I'm like, well, that couldn't have gone better.
Yeah. So we got it. The 2020 Plan B Sales number 45 truck. Plan B Sales, Circle B Diecast, the vendor we picked these up from. Shout out to them. And it is autographed. This is, they made 216 of these signed. Mint condition, never been out of this box. So we are, this is the next one. Beautiful looking truck here.
There we go. All right. Little Ty Majeski action. Who won last week? Who was Adam Spraggs? Yeah, Adam Spraggs.
So I was curious if we were going to leave him in there to win multiple, or if he's got to be taken out.
No, load him back up, man.
If he wins again, Adam, I haven't dropped off your package yet. It's got the shipping label and everything. But so if he wins again, I'll just cut open the box, put this one into it, and you can get the double there.
There we go. All right, let's do it here. Let's see who's going to take it home. A little Majeski action. Oh, is it going to be Lana? Stan?
Maybe. Yeah.
Stan.
All right.
Yo, honestly, shout out fucking Stan, because Stan's been listening to this program back when it was super shitty. So thank you, Stan. I like Stan's one of the OGs, the day ones of this fucking program. So I don't think there could have been a better person, honestly, to win it.
Yeah, I would agree. We love everybody equally here, but yeah, there are some people who we definitely enjoy seeing their comments, and Stan's one of them. So congrats. We'll get this out to the mail from the In Between Media Pittsburgh headquarters. We'll get it out. Maybe I'll do a nice little 2-for-1, drop them both off the post office this weekend and get you guys your giveaway diecast.
Yes, Stan. So DM us on Twitter. I'll put up our personal handles if you have Twitter. If not, you can email us. I'm Seth.Woolcock@inbetweenmedia.com. You can email me your address. I'll probably drop that, like, comment in this video or something. I'll comment back to you afterwards, and then we can get it set up. But we'll get in touch with you, Stan. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah.
Very nice little piece there. My ring light's shining on a little bit, but you can get a good view of it. Nice little Lionel Racing diecast.
Yeah, no.
We'll make sure it gets to you safely.
And we appreciate it, dude, because like, Ellie, we've been grinding out here. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers, dude. And like the NASCAR audience has been arguably our best, most loyal fan base. And we can't thank you enough, man.
No doubt about it. And it won't be the last of our giveaways this year either. You know, if you catch us at Pocono, we'll be trying to do some stuff. And hey, the Circle B, they're not a sponsor. They're just a lot of fun. They got some good ass Black Friday sales that we can get ahead of next year's giveaways and get them at some good prices.
Yeah, and we still have Tyler Reddick we're going to give away next week as well, so keep that in mind. Make sure you guys are back here 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. On Thursdays, we have the NASCAR betting preview show as well, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays with Derek, Mark, Phil, Ryan, and the guys, so make sure you're checking them out. Elliot, we got a bunch of written work on the site. You did a McNasty blog yesterday talking about silly season, and I think we'll have some articles for our best bets and DFS rankings later this week as well.
Yep, it seems like Between Bets is coming out consistently Fridays now to get on that, so you'll be seeing that ideally sometime tomorrow as well. And of course, Seth with the DFS tiers have the nice little throwback bubbles in there for you.
Yeah,
and get that in some written content if you need to look back at it heading into the weekend.
Yeah, looks like we Kush saying congrats to Bob. Yeah, dude, that's fucking sweet. Or Stan. Yeah, too many names in the head. All right, dude.
Yeah, you got that Kush in your head too much here. Using your names a little bit here.
Yeah. Kush is a new friend though. He's new to the program, I think, this week or the last couple of weeks. So good to see Kush hanging out with us. All right though, guys. Good luck. Keep the head on a fucking swivel this weekend for post practice and qualifying. Find us on the Betting Pros app and make sure you're following us on Twitter. We'll put out some of our other bets that we're getting down afterwards on that. But until then, man, I think we just tell them to keep it in between.
Keep it in between. Thanks for rolling down the back road with us, and we'll see you again next Thursday.